Rachel had 397 confirmed kills as a sniper with the Green Beret, but after the death of her husband, she traded her rifle for a tractor. Returning to her family farm in Pine Valley, Wyoming, she was determined to raise her 2 children alone. At 50 years old, hardened by years of service but softened by her love for the land, she thought she had left the battlefield behind forever. The quiet life wasn't always peaceful, but Rachel found comfort in the rhythm of farm life. One bright morning, as she repaired a section of the fence along the western edge of the property, she moved with precision, a habit she had carried from her sniper days. She didn't hear the distant rumble of a motorcycle until it grew louder, abruptly stopping at the edge of the field. Looking up, Rachel squinted against the sunlight and saw a man with a scruffy beard and sharp eyes. A patch on his leather vest read, "Iron Wolves." He gave her a long, assessing look that made her uneasy before revving his engine and driving off in a cloud of dust. Rachel hesitated, her hands gripping the fence tightly. Something about the encounter didn't sit right with her, a quiet warning in her gut that wouldn't go away. Later that day, her 16-year-old daughter, Emma, rushed into the barn, urgency in her voice. "Mom, Miss Bradley says some bikers were asking about us at the gas station. They wanted to know if this place is ours." Rachel's stomach clenched. "Did they say why?" Emma shook her head. "They looked serious, organized." "Where's Ethan?" Rachel asked, referring to her 11-year-old son. Rachel stepped outside, her eyes scanning the horizon. Max, their Australian shepherd, barked sharply near the chicken coop. Rachel's hand instinctively rested on her hip, though the gun she once carried was long gone. She spotted Ethan crouched by the coop, his face pale. "Mom," he said, pointing toward the road. "I saw 3 motorcycles earlier. They stopped and stared at the house. Max has been acting strange, like last year when the mountain lion came down." Rachel nodded. "You and Emma stay close to the house. I'm going into town." Pine Valley Feed Store was as busy as usual, but the tension in the air was palpable. When Rachel entered, heads turned. Sam, the store owner, nodded grimly at her. "Heard the Iron Wolves are sniffing around. They've been moving through the valley, hitting farms. Anyone who can't pay up ends up with a burned barn, or worse." "How many?" Rachel asked, her mind already calculating. "About a dozen or so. They're well armed, not your typical gang. These guys have ex-military with them." As Rachel spoke quietly with Sam, the door chimed, and Martha, her elderly neighbor, rushed in holding a folded newspaper. "Rachel, you need to see this," she said, opening the paper to show a grainy photo of the leader of the Iron Wolves, Viper. His face was weathered, his expression cold. "They've already taken 3 towns north of here. Last week they burned down the Thompson farm for refusing to pay." Rachel's mind raced, calculating angles, planning for every contingency. "Thanks for the tip. Let me know if you hear or see anything else." Back at the farm, Rachel found Emma and Ethan finishing up their chores. Emma's sharp instincts were like her mother's. "Mom, I saw a black motorcycle go by twice while you were gone. They're watching us, aren't they?" Rachel nodded. "We won't panic, but we won't ignore it either. Stick to our routines. Stay close to the house. Keep Max nearby." Rachel sat on the porch, cleaning her old shotgun. It had been a long time since she'd needed it, but today it was a reminder that the farm wasn't an easy target. Her hands moved methodically in a soothing rhythm, the sound of crickets blending with the rustling of leaves. But her mind wasn't on the gun. It was on the bikers, on the threat they brought. She knew it was time to prepare. She had trusted her instincts when she bought the farm, and now those instincts would protect her family from dangers they couldn't see coming. That night, Rachel gathered Martha, Tom, and other trusted locals in the barn to discuss a plan. The sheriff was useless. "They've got him in their pocket," Tom said, shaking his head. "Then it's up to us," Rachel replied, revealing her sniper rifle and tactical maps. "If they come for us, we'll make it hard for them to take anything from here, not without a fight." The next day, the Iron Wolves returned, this time with 30 riders and heavier weapons. The air in Pine Valley crackled with tension. Every resident had fortified their position, and every barn and silo had been turned into a defensive stronghold. Rachel stood in the middle of it all, her eyes scanning the horizon. Her rifle was an extension of her body. As the wolves moved in for a calculated attack, explosions lit up the sky, but the people of Pine Valley held their ground. Rachel moved like a ghost, her shots precise, taking down key targets without killing. She wasn't here to destroy them. She was sending a message. They were outmatched. Emma and Ethan followed orders to the letter, relaying information and holding defensive positions with determination. Tom and Martha coordinated the defense, their voices steady over the radios. The wolves were outnumbering them, but they lacked Rachel's precision, her ability to think 3 steps ahead. By dawn, the wolves retreated, leaving behind motorcycles and a few injured men. Viper, Rachel's main target, yelled back as his truck sped away. "This isn't over." Rachel knew he was right. The wolves would regroup, likely with reinforcements. But she also knew they had underestimated Pine Valley. They weren't just fighting a single mother and her neighbors. They were fighting a community that refused to give up. As Rachel surveyed the aftermath, she felt a deep sense of purpose. This was more than a fight for her farm. It was a fight for everything her parents had built, everything she wanted to pass on to her children. She wouldn't let it fall. That night, the wolves returned again, but they were met with a community ready to defend its home. The battle was fierce, but Rachel's strategy, along with the fierce determination of her neighbors, held them back. Every corner of the farm had been turned into a weapon, and every inch of land was fiercely defended. By morning, the wolves were defeated. Rachel stood tall in the dawn light, her children at her side. The farm had been marked, but it stood strong, a testament to their victory. The wolves had come to take their land. They had come to destroy Pine Valley. But they had forgotten one thing. Never corner a predator without expecting a fight. And when you do, pray it doesn't fight back.